Yes, please.
Thank you, President Trump. Two quick questions.
Yeah, sure.
One on infrastructure. Members of your administration and members of Congress have pointed out that the top paid federal employee, it's not the president, it's the head of the Tennessee Valley Authority, and he made $8 million last year. And
It's ridiculous. I agree. It's ridiculous. I think it's the highest paid government. Long before I got here, you said Tennessee Valley Authority, right? Has to be the highest paid man in any government. Makes approximately $8 or $9 million. I don't know the gentleman, but he's got a heck of a job. He gets paid a lot of money. He's been there for a long while, hasn't he?
This one actually is new. It came in April, but the previous
Well,
one.
that's a separate. Yeah, that's separate. But I'm talking about the. We just have some new people going on the board, I know. But as you know, that's a quasi-public agency. And whoever the head of the agency is, that person makes a lot of money.
If I could ask my second question.
Which is an amazing thing, right? And when we want them to do something, they're not there for us. That's not good. That's not good. They've been there for a long time. That's been a story for a long time.
And I assume that you would support reducing that salary as part of the infrastructure bill?
Yeah, reducing it by a lot.
Thank you. And, my other question
That'd
is...
be the greatest job in the history of government, almost. Certainly if you're into money. Tennessee Valley Authority, that's right. Go ahead. I've been waiting for somebody to ask me about that. It's been bothering me for a long time, too. Go ahead.
One of the biggest rating hits of the coronavirus, aside from these briefings, has been a show on Netflix called Tiger King.
Yeah.
And the man who's the star of this is a former zoo owner who's serving a 22-year prison sentence. He's asking you for a pardon, saying he was unfairly convicted. Your son yesterday jokingly said that he was going to advocate for it, and I was wondering if you've seen the show and if you have any thoughts on pardoning Joe Exotic.
Which son? It must be Don.
It was.
I had a feeling it was Don. Is that what he said? I don't know. I know nothing about it. He has 22 years for what? What did he do?
He allegedly hired someone to murder an animal rights activist, but he said that he didn't do that, and he was.
Do you think he didn't do it? Are you on his side?
Well,
Are you recommending a pardon?
No, I'm not advocating anything.
As a reporter, you're not allowed to do that. You'd be criticized by these. Would you recommend a pardon?
I'm not weighing in on Tiger
I don't
King.
think you would. I don't think you would. Go ahead. You have a question?
I do like Joe Exotic.
I'll take a look. Is that Joe Exotic? That's Joe Exotic.
Let me get back to
Go ahead.
the coronavirus.
What do you believe the consequences of the U.S. pulling out its funding of the WHO?
Well, I think when you say more body bags, I think we would have done, and he would have been much better serving the people that he's supposed to serve if they gave a correct analysis. I mean, everything was, I said, China-centric. Everything was going to be fine, no human to human, keep the borders open. He wanted me to keep the borders open. I closed the borders despite him, and that was a hard decision to make at the time. We were all together. We made a decision against the World Health Organization. So when he says politicizing, he's politicizing. That shouldn't be. But look, we spend $450 billion, $452 billion, almost $500 billion last year, hundreds of billions in previous years. And they got to do better than that. They got to do better. When you talk about politics, I can't believe he's talking about politics when look at the relationship they have to China. So China spends $42 million, we spend $450 million. And everything seems to be China's way. That's not right. It's not fair to us. And honestly, it's not fair to the world. Okay, question in the back? Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. President. There's breaking news today and a couple of reports from a couple different outlets that Jared Kushner's team is seeking to create a national coronavirus database, a tracking system for patients who've been diagnosed. Now, his spokesperson said that that's not true.
Yeah, it's not. I have never heard about it. Doesn't sound like a bad idea, actually, but I have not heard about that.
Be okay with it if it.
I don't know if I'd be okay. I have to see it, but it sounds very scientific, and it sounds like it could be good based on tracking, but it also has to do with rights and lots of different constitutional questions. I have not heard that at all.
Okay, so some people are concerned it would be like the post 9/11 Patriot Act, that it ultimately led to the FISA abuse. Are you concerned
FISA
about
abuse,
that?
of which I was the one abused, and a couple of other people, in all fairness. No, I don't know anything about it. I haven't heard it. I mean, I'll speak to them. I don't think so. They would have told me. I would have known about it. Yeah, please, go ahead.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. We know many people around the world are paying close attention to this
Yes.
press conference. So
Yes.
on behalf of
Good. Where are you
foreign
from?
media,
Where are you from?
I'm from Taiwan.
Good.
Yes. On behalf of Foreign Media Group, I'd like to ask you two questions. First question is that the French President Macron called Iranian President Rouhani and say that Europe has started to ship the medical goods to Iran. Will you consider
Medical goods?
Yes.
That doesn't bother me.
Yeah. So will you
If
think?
they're sending medical goods to Iran, it doesn't bother me. No.
Okay.
Okay?
Yeah, so the other question is that the world also paying attention to the US election. So we are also, we know that Bernie Sanders has dropped out
I
today.
did see that today.
Yeah.
Well, he didn't really drop out. He didn't really. What about his delegates? I mean, he said he's going to keep his delegates, and which is sort of interesting. He's going to keep his delegates, and he'd like to get more. Now, is he dropping out or not? That's not dropping out. When you keep your delegates, and then you want more delegates before you get to the convention, that's a weird deal going on there. I don't know what's happening.
So what's-
And I don't know why President Obama hasn't supported Joe Biden a long time ago. There's something he feels is wrong. Why isn't he'll come out? I'm sure he's got to come out at some point, because he certainly doesn't want to see me for 4 more years. We're not. We think a little bit differently. You know what? I'll tell you. It does amaze me that President Obama hasn't supported Sleepy Joe. It just hasn't happened. When's it going to happen? When is it going to happen? Why isn't it? He knows something that you don't know. That I think I know, but you don't know. So it'll be interesting. But with Bernie, I saw his standard fare today. I watched. And I hope that a lot of Bernie Sanders people, just like they did last time, we got a tremendous percentage of Bernie people. And I think they voted for me largely because of trade, because Bernie and I agree on trade. We agree that the United States has been ripped off by virtually every country they do business with. The difference is I've done a lot about it, and I'm doing more about it. And we've made incredible trade deals, including USMCA, the deal with China, and then all of a sudden that gets disturbed by this virus situation. But China has to spend almost $250 billion on purchasing our products, $40 to $50 billion with our farmers. And the Bernie Sanders people are big believers on what I'm saying on trade, and I got a lot of them in the last election that surprised people, but it didn't surprise me. No, those are great people. They're great people. But I just, look, I'm looking at Bernie Sanders. I watched this morning, and I said, what is that all about? Mike, you saw that, the delegates. He's not giving up his delegates. He's keeping them, and he said he wants to get more of them. And I think he's doing it to negotiate, I assume, but I don't know. That's a hard thing to do. Yeah, Jeff, go ahead.
Mr. President, OPEC is meeting with Russia tomorrow and some other countries to discuss oil prices.
Yeah.
Oil prices are at $23 a barrel.
Oh, that's good. Finally, somebody knows something when they ask a question.
What is your message to them ahead of their meeting tomorrow? Will the U.S. consider a coordinated cut of production here?
I don't think, look, we already cut. You know, we're like very market oriented. If you look at Texas and if you look at North Dakota and if you look at some of our states that do this very well, they've already cut way back. You know, they cut back automatically. But in the case of Russia, in the case of Saudi Arabia, they increased production at a time when you didn't need it, and then they got hit by the virus, which knocked out 40% of the market. And now they're flooded with oil. Look, I just say this. You have two countries that are getting hurt very badly. Russia's getting hurt. That's their primary source. And Saudi Arabia, that's definitely their primary source. And it doesn't make sense that they flooded the market for whatever reason they did that for themselves. It's an argument that they had. And I think they'll straighten it out. A lot of progress has been made over the last week. And it'll be interesting to see what comes out of OPEC tomorrow. But OPEC, obviously, for many years, I used to think OPEC was very unfair. I hated OPEC. You want to know the truth? I hated it because it was a fix. But somewhere along the line, that broke down, and it went the opposite way. And we have a tremendously powerful energy industry in this country now, #1 in the world. And I don't want those jobs being lost. Okay?
What will you do, just one follow-up to that, sir, what will you do if they don't end up cutting
We'll
tomorrow?
see. I mean, I have a lot of options. Please. Got a lot of good options, Jeff. Beauties. I might like it even more. Now you'll watch. Let's see what happens. Hopefully they can make a deal. Let's go.
Thank you, Mr. President. Clearly, Americans are getting very anxious to go back to work.
I
You're
agree.
sounding optimistic.
Including me.
Still very vague. Now that the IMHE model specifically has been adjusted down to 61,000, when are we going to open back up? Can you give us a better date? Is it going to be April 30th, May 1st?
You said adjusted back down 61,000. What was adjusted back down?
The IMHE model, the one that originally predicted like between 100 and
Yeah, go
200,000.
ahead. That's still a big number, right? 61, right? That's a big number. Go ahead.
But can you give us a more specific date? Will it be
Well, I don't
April
wanna do that.
30th,
Look,
May 1st?
I had a date, and I thought it was a very aspirational date. It's turning out to be very interesting because a lot of good things are happening by Easter. But I had a very aspirational date. I didn't think you could make it. I didn't say we would do it by Easter, but I said, boy, wouldn't that be great to shoot for Easter? That would be a great day, beautiful day, very important day to a lot of people like me and like some of you in the room, maybe all of you in the room, frankly. But Easter is a very important day. So I had aspirationally, I said, let's see if we can do it at Easter, but I said it would be very tough. And I was criticized for that. So I don't like giving dates. And that wasn't a date. That was just an aspiration. That would have been incredible. But I don't think we're going to be very far behind. And some of these models are looking like Easter is going to be a very important date anyway because of the curve. I mean, it's hitting the top and it's starting to come down. And one person said Easter is looking like a good time. So a good time for that, for heading down. So we'll see what happens. Look, there's no reason to do that. We have a lot of good things happening. When I spoke to the governor of Louisiana today, he said, Tony, they need far less beds than they need. I said, well, good, because we're building 1,000-room additional. We built them 1,000 beds, and now we're building another 1,000. And I said, listen, is there a way that we don't build? I don't want to build them if they don't need them. In New York, the Javits isn't too heavily used. It's ready to go. 2,900 beds. Plus, we now have the ship set for COVID if they want to use it, and we're using it for Governor Murphy in New Jersey. So we'll see what happens. But, the numbers are coming way down. The ventilators, we're all set. We have a lot to go if we want, but I'm not getting calls where they need ventilators anymore. So we were right on those ventilators. I'd love to have additional ventilators for some of the countries that are our allies and our friends. And even if they're not our allies and our friends, you're saving human lives. But I'd love to see if we had some. I mean, we're making a lot of ventilators right now. We have and they take a while to make, and they're very expensive, and they're very complex to make. But I'd love to be able to help other countries once we're taken care of. But I just sent 100 ventilators to Colorado, and that was great. A senator there who's a terrific senator, Cory Gardner. And he called me last night. He said, could you get 100 ventilators for Colorado? And we just sent them out, and they'll be there very shortly. So, but it looks like we're in great shape from the bed standpoint. It looks like we're in great shape from the ventilator standpoint. And you just heard I ordered 500 million masks, 500 N95s and others, and surgical. But we ordered 500 million masks, 300 and 200. And they're going to be here very shortly. So we're really in great shape. And we started off with an empty cupboard.